Jack was just finishing his night shift at the repair station on Mars Edge when a strange package arrived. He had never seen anything like its shiny black metal. Glowing lines, no return address. It hummed softly in his hands. Then suddenly, whispered his name, Jack Harmon. Jack almost dropped it. He looked around. But no one else was in the dusty hangar. The voice came again, calm and warm. From Kale of Yathera, for my human friend, Kale. It had been years since Jack heard that name, an alien diplomat he saved during a border skirmish. They met once, shared stories over drinks. And Kale promised to repay the debt someday. Jack thought it was just friendly talk he never expected. He took the package back to his quarters. It opened itself with a soft click, revealing a scroll-like device and a crystal cube. The cube lit up and projected Kale's face in the air-pale blue skin. Golden eyes, calm smile. Jack. Kale's voice echoed. If you see this, I am dead. Jack froze. Kale continued. You saved my life when others looked away. In my culture, such a bond is sacred. Now, I give you what is mine, my lands, my ship, my knowledge, and my wife Soraya. Jack blinked. Wait, what, your wife? Kale smiled softly. Do not be alarmed, she agreed. As is the way of our people, she is not property, but she will be safe if she is bound to you. Jack stared at the message in disbelief. This had to be a joke, but the hologram ended with, one last sentence, take care of her. She is yours now, 3 days later. Jack stood aboard a sleek alien shuttle bound for Yathera. He tried to understand the situation, but nothing made sense. Why would Kale leave him so much? And why? Give away his wife. The ship landed on a glowing platform high above a massive jungle city. Strange plants swayed beneath, and floating towers touched the clouds. Jack stepped out, feeling the weight of thousands of alien eyes watching him. A tall man in robes approached, bowing deeply. You are Jack Harmon, heir of Kale. Jack nodded slowly, unsure of what to say. Please follow me. Lady Soraya awaits. They walked through a palace carved from living crystal. It shimmered with changing colors as Jack passed, as if it recognized him. Finally, they reached a large chamber with golden walls and soft blue light. There, standing alone, was Soraya. She was tall and graceful, her skin a soft silver hue, eyes glowing like stars. Her long hair flowed down her back, and her dress was made of woven light. She bowed her head, hands crossed over her chest. I greet you, Jack of Earth, she said quietly. I am Soraya, widow of Kale. Jack didn't know how to respond. You don't have to do this, he said, feeling awkward. Soraya raised her eyes and looked at him deeply. I know, she said, but Kale trusted you, and so shall I. She guided him through the palace, explaining things softly. The land, the wealth, the servants, all now his. But Jack couldn't stop thinking about Kale's message, the strange calmness in Soraya's eyes. That night, Jack found a small hidden door in his new room. Inside was a study, dusty and forgotten. He saw a panel on the wall with Kale's symbol. When he touched it, another hologram appeared. Kale again, more serious this time. If you are watching this, then Soraya has met you. There are things she cannot say not yet. My death was not natural. Jack and I fear Soraya is in danger. Jack's hands tightened. Kale's voice continued. I chose you because you are honest, brave, and have no connection to our politics. She needs protection, and you need answers. The truth is buried in this house and in her heart. The message ended. Silence filled the room. Jack sat there in the dark, heart beating fast. He wasn't just an heir to some fortune. He was now in the middle of something deeper, a mystery, a danger, and perhaps a bond that was never meant to be broken. Outside the window, 2 moons rose slowly over Yathera. And somewhere in the palace, Soraya stood alone, watching the stars with sadness in her eyes. The next morning. Jack woke up to the soft hum of alien birds and a warm golden light through the window. He almost forgot where he wasn't till the palace walls changed color as he moved. The living structure seemed to react to him as if welcoming its new master, servants. Bowed as he walked down the shining hallway, their faces respectful but unreadable. At the end of the hall stood Soraya, dressed in a flowing robe that shimmered like starlight. She looked calm, distant, but her eyes watched him closely. "Good morning, Jack of Earth," she said with a polite nod. He gave an awkward smile. "You can just call me Jack." She tilted her head slightly. "Then you may call me Soraya." She guided him to a large dining chamber where a strange feast waited, fruits that floated above their plates, meats that smelled like spices and fire, drinks that changed color with each sip. Jack wasn't sure what to eat, but Soraya pointed to the safest items, quietly helping him understand the customs. As they ate, he finally asked, "Why did Kale leave?" "All this to me." Soraya looked down at her plate for a moment, then said softly, "Because he trusted you more than anyone." Jack leaned in. "But why include you?" She took a slow breath, then turned to face him fully. "In our culture, a bond like the one Kale had with you is sacred." She explained. "You saved his life, not for money, not for power, but because it was right. He had no heir, no blood family he trusted, so he named you as one." Jack listened, trying to process it all. "And me?" he asked. "This whole wife thing, is that a joke?" Soraya did not laugh. "It is not a joke," she said quietly. "In Eutheran law, when a husband dies, his bonded partner can be passed to another, but only if they accept." "I agreed, Jack. Because Kale said you would protect me, and—" She hesitated. "I have no one else." Jack looked into her eyes and saw something more than duty. He saw loneliness, pain, and a hint of fear. He nodded slowly. "Then I promise I won't hurt you, Soraya." She gave a small bow. "Thank you, Jack." Later that day, she took him through the rest of the palace. They passed through rooms filled with glowing plants, floating stones, and machines Jack couldn't even name. She showed him Kale's private library, filled with ancient scrolls and star drives of information. Then they arrived at a locked door with a handprint scanner. Soraya placed her palm on the panel, but it flashed red. She turned to Jack. "Only you can open this one." Jack stepped forward, nervous, and placed his hand on the scanner. A soft click echoed, and the door opened slowly. Inside was a chamber, filled with Kale's personal items, memories, weapons, trophies, and a large stasis pod. A single phrase was written above the pod in glowing text. "Open only if the stars turn against you." Jack shivered. "What's in there?" Soraya's voice was low. "I don't know. Kale never told me." But Jack had a feeling this inheritance was more than land, money, or even Soraya. There were secrets here, and some were still sleeping. That night, Jack sat in the garden, looking up at the twin moons of Euthera. Soraya joined him, sitting quietly beside him. For a moment, they said nothing. Just watched the stars. Finally, she spoke. "I used to sit here with Kale when I was younger. He was kind to me, even though our marriage was political." Jack turned to her. "Did you love him?" She thought for a long time, then said, "In a way, yes, but not like a lover. I respected him. Yeah, and he protected me." Jack nodded. "And now you're stuck with me." He joked. She gave a small smile. Maybe not stuck, maybe. Given a second chance, they sat in silence again. The wind gently brushing through the strange trees. Jack didn't know what tomorrow would bring. But for now, he felt a strange calm, a new beginning, and deep inside, he knew this was just the start of something far bigger than a fortune or a marriage. Somewhere in the stars, a shadow moved. Unseen eyes watched the palace, and an old enemy whispered, "The human has the key, and the woman. We must act before the truth wakes up." Jack couldn't sleep. The night sky of Euthira looked peaceful, but something inside him felt restless. The words Cale left echoed in his mind. There are things she cannot say not yet. He got up quietly, leaving his soft alien bed behind. The hallways of the Crystal Mansion were quiet, but the walls pulsed gently like they were alive. Soft lights followed him, turning on with each step. He wasn't sure where he was going, but something was pulling him deeper into the house, earlier. That day, Soraya had shown him the main rooms, the garden, and even Cale's private study. But there was one hallway she skipped. Now, Jack stood before it, the door strangely cold to the touch. There was no scanner, just a smooth wall, but as soon as he placed his hand on it, the crystal surface melted away like mist. The room beyond was dark, filled with old tech dust and strange shapes. Jack stepped inside carefully, the door sealing behind him without a sound. Lights blinked awake as he moved forward, revealing rows of holographic panels, metal crates, and a strange chair shaped like a cocoon. In the middle stood a large circular table with glowing glyphs circling its edge. He touched one, and the entire room lit up with projections. Cale's face appeared again, this time more serious. "Jack, if you are here, then things are already in motion," the message said. "I could not tell Soraya everything, not without endangering her." Jack leaned forward as Cale continued. "There is something in this house that others want. Something ancient, powerful, and dangerous." Jack looked around. And then Cale's voice added one more chilling line. "They will come for her first, but what they truly want is buried beneath the house." Jack stared at the table, confused. Beneath the house. He pressed more symbols, and a 3D map of the mansion appeared. Then underneath an entire hidden structure revealed itself, buried deep underground. "What the hell?" Jack whispered. There was a hidden facility beneath the palace, and Cale had never mentioned it until now. Suddenly, a soft noise made Jack spin around. Soraya stood in the doorway, her eyes wide with surprise and fear. "You found this room?" she said softly. Jack nodded. "Why didn't you show me?" "I was told not to," she whispered. Cale said, "I must never enter this hallway unless you opened it first." Jack stepped back from the table. "You knew something was under the palace." She hesitated, then slowly walked closer. "I knew there was something forbidden," she admitted. Cale said it was not a treasure, but a responsibility. The cocoon-shaped chair behind them opened with a soft hiss, revealing a control helm and a long cable of lights. Jack approached it, unsure. "Is this part of Cale's ship tech?" he asked. Soraya shook her head. "No. It's older. This house was built on ruins from the first civilizations." Cale believed the power here was not just from his people, but from before. Jack climbed into the chair, and it came alive. Around him, the walls pulsed, and suddenly Jack saw flashes of memory. Cale unlocking doors. Soraya training with glowing blades, and a symbol. An ancient one, shaped like a spiral star. "Jack," Soraya called, snapping him out of the vision. He blinked hard, breathing fast. "I saw things your past. Cale's secrets, something." Watching the glyphs now floated in the air, one blinking bright red. Soraya touched it carefully, and a secret door opened on the far wall. Behind it was a staircase made of black stone, leading down into the hidden layers beneath the mansion. Jack looked at her. "Do we go in?" Soraya nodded slowly. "We have to. They're already coming." "Who?" Jack asked. "The Seekers," she replied. "Ancient collectors of lost weapons. Forbidden knowledge. They believe I carry the key." Jack stared at her. "Do you?" She looked away. "I don't know, but they believe I do, and that's enough." They descended the staircase together. the lights flickering as they passed below. They entered a chamber filled with statues of long-dead alien kings and warriors. At the center was a pedestal with a glowing sphere inside it. Floating in liquid light was a tiny cube. "It's called a core seed," Soraya whispered. "Kale told me it can grow machines. Or destroy them. It listens only to a chosen voice." Jack reached out, and the sphere reacted. Pulsing warmly, the cube floated toward his hand like it had waited centuries just for him. The moment he touched it, the floor shook, and a voice echoed in the chamber, deep and ancient, blood of the outworld. "Bearer of new chains, will you awaken the vault?" Jack looked at Soraya, his hand trembling. "What does it mean?" he asked. She stared at him with fear and awe. "I think, Jack, Kale didn't just leave you a fortune," she said. "He left you a weapon that could change the galaxy." Soraya stood in silence, her silver eyes locked on the core seed still glowing in Jack's hand. The hidden vault trembled quietly, as if something deep beneath the stone walls had stirred. Jack's voice shook. "You said they would come for you, Soraya, but I don't understand why." She slowly turned away, her hands clenched. There was something in her eyes, now something ancient. "I didn't tell you everything, Jack," she said softly. "I wasn't always Kale's wife. And I wasn't chosen because I was beautiful." They returned to the surface, back inside the strange mansion, but now Jack could feel its eyes watching from beyond the walls. Whispers in the crystal glass, something had been awakened below. And Soraya's story was no longer just one of inheritance. She walked to a sealed chamber. On the west side of the palace, her steps firm and fast, Jack followed her into a dark room filled with locked cases, armor pieces, and strange weapons hanging on the walls. Soraya pressed her palm against the wall, and the lights flickered on, revealing a set of black armor unlike anything Jack had seen before. It looked like it was forged from shadows and stars, lined with red light, humming softly. Soraya stepped toward it and spoke the words in her native tongue, the armor lighting up as if it remembered her touch. Jack stared in awe. "What? What is that?" Soraya didn't look at him. "It is mine," she said quietly. "I was once Commander Soraya of the Fallen Flame." Jack blinked, confused. "You were a soldier." "A warrior," she corrected, "leader of the Flame Corps' protectors. Of the last bloodline of the Star Queens." He stepped back, stunned. "Why didn't Kale ever tell me?" "Because it was forbidden," she said, her voice cold now. "Ha! I led a failed uprising against the High Council. We wanted freedom, not chains." Jack's heart pounded. "So you were hunted." Soraya nodded. "Kale saved me by marrying me under old Eutheran law. Bonded wives cannot be executed. That's why they fear me. And that's why Kale gave you everything, including me, so the protection would continue." Jack stared at the core seed, still glowing faintly in his pocket. Then this. "It's part of your rebellion," he said. "No," she replied. "It's older than that. It's what the rebellion was meant to protect." Suddenly, an alarm rang through the mansion. A deep horn that echoed through every wall. Servants ran. Lights dimmed, and the sky outside darkened. Soraya turned toward Jack, eyes sharp. "They found us." Jack followed her to the command room Kale once used. Screens showed dark ships landing just outside the jungle, black and silver. "With no emblems, the Seekers," Soraya said, her voice like steel. "They don't care for peace or law, only relics and power." Jack swallowed hard. "And what do they want?" "You," she answered, "and the seed." Soraya turned and opened a hidden panel behind the command console, revealing two sleek weapons. One was a curved blade, glowing blue. The other, a plasma rifle built for close combat. She tossed the rifle to Jack, who caught it awkwardly. "I've never used one of these," he said nervously. "Then learn fast," she replied, strapping on her armor piece by piece. She moved like someone born for war, each motion smooth and practiced. Her long silver hair braided back, face coiled, but her body coiled like a blade ready to strike. Jack stared at her, stunned by the transformation. "You don't look like a widow anymore," he muttered. She gave a short laugh. "I never was. I was always a warrior in hiding." The first explosion hit the outer wall of the mansion, shaking the structure. Jack stumbled, but Soraya stood firm, eyes glowing bright as the lights flickered. She placed a hand on his shoulder, her voice soft for a moment. "Stay close to me, Jack. I won't let them take you." As the enemy troops entered the courtyard, Soraya leaped forward like a storm of silver fire. Her blade cut through the shadows, her armor absorbing blasts with flashes of light. Jack ducked behind a wall, firing when he could, heart racing like thunder for the first time in his life. He wasn't just a mechanic, he was in the middle of a war. Soraya fought like a legend, taking down 3 attackers in seconds, but more kept coming. Waves of black armored figures, silent and fast. Suddenly, one of them reached Jack too fast, too close. He raised his rifle, but froze, a plasma dagger aimed for his chest. Then clang. Soraya was there. Blade flashing, she knocked the attacker away and pulled Jack to his feet. "I told you, stay close," she shouted. Jack nodded, out of breath. "I'm trying." They retreated into the mansion, sealing doors behind them. The main control chamber lit up, and a voice rang out. It was Kale's AI. "Welcome, heir of Kale. Shall I activate full defense protocols?" Jack looked at Soraya, who nodded without hesitation. "Yes, do it." Jack shouted, and the walls around them began to shift, forming into gun ports and defense systems. Soraya looked at him with a fire in her eyes. "You're not just the heir now, Jack. You're the only one who can stop what's coming." The palace groaned under the weight of battle. Walls trembled as explosions lit up the sky outside. Jack gripped the side of the command table, trying to stay steady. Beside him, Soraya stood tall, her silver armor cracked, but her eyes still burning bright. "They'll break through soon," Jack said, voice tight. Soraya nodded. "Unless we get to the vault first." He looked at her, confused. "There's more." "There's always more," she whispered. "Kale didn't build this place just for comfort." The AI responded with a soft tone. "Final protocol unlocked. Access to the vault of the last gift is now available." A circular panel rose from the floor, glowing with a red pulse. "Place the core seed," the voice said. Jack took the glowing cube from his jacket pocket, his fingers shaking slightly. He placed it gently into the center of the pedestal. The palace let out a low hum like something ancient had been awakened. Then the floor below them shifted and opened, revealing a glowing stairway spiraling down into darkness. "Come," Soraya said. "We don't have much time." They moved fast, the stairwell narrowing as they descended. The walls were lined with carvings, older than Aetherian history, symbols of stars, spirals, and a tree made of light repeated along the stone. At the bottom, a door waited, shaped like a circle split in two. Jack placed his hand against it, and it opened without a sound. Inside was a massive chamber, silent, cold, and filled with golden mist. In the center hovered a living structure, part machine, part crystal, shaped like a blooming flower. It pulsed slowly, each beat like the sound of a heartbeat, echoing in the stars. Soraya stepped forward, eyes wide. "This is what Kale hid," she whispered. "This is the last gift." Jack moved closer. "What does it do?" "I'm not sure," she said, "but legends speak of something called the Genesis Core. A seed left behind by the builders, the first travelers, capable of shaping matter, healing planets, creating life for ending it." Jack took a step back, the power in the room pressing against his chest like invisible weight. "Kale wanted me to protect this." "He trusted you," Soraya said gently. And I do too. Suddenly, the ground shook again. And the chamber lights flashed red. The AI voice spoke fast. Hostiles breaching lower levels. Time to vault compromise 3 minutes. There. Here, Jack muttered. Soraya drew her blade. Then we hold them. The door behind them hissed as shadows entered the stairwell. Figures in dark armor, masks glowing red. Armed with plasma spears, one of them spoke in a harsh alien voice. Give us the core, and we'll let the human live. Jack raised his rifle, hand shaking. Soraya stepped forward and answered in their tongue, her words like fire. No, she said. This core belongs to the free, not to thieves. The attackers charged, and the battle began. Jack fired wildly, ducking behind the stone pillars. Soraya moved like light, her blade dancing, each strike pushing them back. Still the numbers grew, more and more, filling the chamber. Too many, Jack shouted. We'll be overrun. Soraya looked at the core, then at Jack. There is one option, she said, but it's dangerous. What is it? He asked. The core responds to the heart of the bonded, she explained. 2 souls linked by trust and will. If we bind ourselves, now the core might listen. Jack hesitated. Bind? You mean like marriage? In the old way, she said. Not just by law, but by spirit. If you agree, speak it now. Jack looked at her, sweat on his brow, fear in his chest, but also something else. He trusted her, believed in her, needed her. Bind with you, he said firmly. No matter what comes, Soraya reached for his hand, and the core lit up like a star. A beam of light shot out, hitting them both, lifting them slightly into the air, symbols wrapped around them, ancient voices whispering in forgotten tongues. And then the core exploded in light, sending out a shockwave that vaporized every attacker in the room. The chamber went quiet, golden dust settling over broken stones. The AI spoke again, softer now. New bond confirmed, core linked, access granted to the Genesis vault. A second door opened behind the core, revealing what looked like a ship but unlike any Jack had ever seen. Sleek, alive, humming with purpose. Soraya smiled, tears in her eyes. He left us a ship that can grow, travel without fuel, and heal itself. Kale didn't just protect the past, he gave us a future. Jack stepped forward, his voice low. Then let's use it, he said. Let's finish what he started. The jungle around the palace burned with orange fire. Smoke curled into the alien sky as more dark ships descended. The council's enforcers were no longer hiding. They came with full strength. They wanted the core, the vault, and the strange bond between Soraya and the human Kale had trusted inside the newly revealed Genesis vault. Jack stood beside Soraya, both of them still glowing faintly from the core acceptance behind them. The living starship waited in silence, its hull pulsing with light like it was breathing. Jack placed his hand on its surface, and the ship responded, opening a ramp that shimmered like water. We need to leave, Soraya said quickly. We can't defend this place and protect the core at the same time. Jack hesitated, looking back toward the mansion. This was Kale's home, yours too, he said softly. I know, Soraya whispered. But now it's our past, not our future. The ship, named Soulheart, accepted them like they had always belonged. Its walls curved around them, warm and quiet, responding to thoughts as much as words. Jack took the command seat, unsure of what to do. A soft AI voice, not Kale's this time, but feminine and ancient, spoke. Captain confirmed. Bonded pair detected, activating defense and flight systems. Soraya sat beside him, armor cracked, but eyes strong. The council will try to destroy this ship before it can leave, she warned. We have one. Shot outside, black cruisers floated just beyond the tree line, charging weapons. The palace began to collapse behind them, crystal towers falling into ash. Jack clenched his fists, heart racing. Not today, he growled. Soulheart, give me everything. The ship responded fast, launching into the air with a blast that tore the jungle floor apart. It dodged incoming fire like it already knew the enemy's aim. Jack and Soraya were pushed back in their seats as stars blurred in the distance. But two enemy warships gave chase, their cannons glowing red. Soraya activated the defensive systems, her fingers moving fast across the console. Shields are strong, but not endless, she said. We need an edge. Jack remembered the core's pulse in his chest, the bond they had made. He closed his eyes and whispered, "Show me what you can do." The ship listened, panels opened, revealing organic weapon systems like vines of light and sound. Energy cannons twisted forward, and glowing threads spun between them. Forming a net of fire, Jack looked at Soraya, who gave a nod. "Let's end this," she said. Soulheart fired, beams of white light tearing through space like spears. One council. Warship exploded instantly, pieces raining down into the void. The second tried to fleep up the living ship, wrapped it in a gravity pulse, crushing it like a can. Silence followed. Only the hum of the ship remained, and the sound of Jack's heartbeat in his ears. Soraya reached for his hand, squeezing it gently. "You did it," she said. "No." Jack said softly, "We did it." But their victory came with loss. The mansion was gone, and with it every piece of Soraya's former life. Jack stood with her at the viewport, watching the planet shrink in the distance. "It wasn't just stone and crystal," she said, voice shaking. "It was memories." Jack put an arm around her shoulders. "We'll build new ones," he said. "Kale didn't want you to live in hiding forever. T wanted you to rise." Soraya looked at him, something shifting in her gaze. "I was born a weapon, trained to fight," she said, "but with you, I feel like I'm becoming something else, a partner." Jack asked. She smiled faintly. "Maybe even a home." Before he could answer, the AI spoke again. "Distress call detected. Colony on Viren Ikes under siege. Signatures match council forces." Jack looked at Soraya. "They're not stopping," he said. "No," she replied, standing tall again, "but neither are we." Jack nodded slowly. "Plot a course," he told the ship, "and this time we fight not just for survival, but for those who still believe in something better." As the ship turned toward Viren X, its engines burning with living energy, Jack felt the past falling away and a new future rising, not just for him and Soraya, but for anyone ready to resist the chains of old empires. They weren't running anymore. They were leading. The planet Virenix burned in silence as the Council's warships surrounded it. Smoke covered its forests, and thousands of alien families hid underground. Afraid, the skies were full of fear, but that fear broke the moment Soulheart arrived. Jack stood on the command deck of the living ship, staring at the world below, beside him. Soraya tightened her armor plates, her eyes sharp, but her voice calm. "They're starving the colony," she said, "cutting off supplies. No escape routes, no mercy." Jack nodded slowly. "That's what tyrants do when no one stops them." The AI of Soulheart spoke gently. "Planet defense grid is down. Its council fleet in low orbit estimated. Time before total collapse, 5 hours. Jack's hands gripped the console. "We changed that now," he said. He turned to Soraya. "Are you ready?" She gave him a small smirk. "I was born ready, remember?" The ship dropped into the upper atmosphere, cloaking itself with living panels that blended into the sky. From below, it looked like a star blinking in and out. Then it struck. Soulheart released a pulse wave that knocked out every radar and scanner. On the council ships, Jack took the helm, flying between cruisers as Soraya activated the gravity lances. Blades of pressure and light sliced enemy ships in half. Within seconds, the fleet was thrown into chaos. On the surface, the trapped colonists saw the sky flash. And then they heard a voice broadcast from above. This is Jack Harmon of Earth, heir to Kale of Ethera, and I stand with the free. The Council no longer rules by fear. Not today." The people cheered from underground bunkers, "Rebel." Forces hiding in the ruins rose up with new courage. They joined the fight, inspired by the human who came not to conquer, but to protect. Council ships turned to flee, but Soulheart was faster. It bent the space around it, catching them, disabling them, never needing to kill more than necessary. Jack didn't want war. He wanted a new kind of peace, one built by choice, not by chains. After the battle, the ship landed gently on the surface. Crowds gathered, some afraid, some hopeful. Jack stepped out. Not in a king's robe, but in a simple suit and dusty boots. He looked at the people and raised his hand. "I'm not your ruler," he said. "I'm just a man who is given a gift and a promise. This woman beside me." He nodded to Soraya. "She was once hunted, betrayed, used as a token. But today she stands as my equal, my partner, my bond." Soraya stepped forward. Removing her helmet, she spoke clearly. "You are not forgotten," she said to the people. "Kale gave everything to protect what was good in the galaxy. We will continue that mission, not as rulers, but as guardians." The colonists slowly stepped forward, one by one, offering thanks, tears, gifts of food and flowers. They knelt before Jack and Soraya not in fear, but in respect. Something had changed. A spark had been lit across the stars in the days that followed. Messages came in from other systems. Pirate lords surrendered. Council members defected. Old allies of Kale reached out, ready to join this new movement. They called it the Star-Bound Accord, a union of free worlds protected by Soulheart and its bonded pair. Jack often walked through the halls of Soulheart, still unsure how a simple mechanic from Mars had become this, but every time he saw Soraya beside him, her hand in his, her laugh in the quiet moments, he remembered. Kale hadn't chosen him for power. He chose him for heart. One evening, Jack stood on the observation deck with Soraya. The stars stretched forever ahead, and the worlds behind them finally breathed again. Do you think he knew it would turn out like this? Jack asked quietly. Soraya smiled. Kale was never a man of war, but he understood legacy. He didn't want a soldier. He wanted someone who would protect what mattered, even if it meant learning as he went. Jack nodded. "And what about you?" Soraya leaned her head against his shoulder. "I was trained to fight," she said, "but you taught me to live." Their hands clasped, the core still pulsing softly near their hearts. They were no longer just guardians of an empire. They were the new hope of a galaxy tired of being ruled by fear. Above them, the stars blinked like old friends. And far beyond, across forgotten systems, people whispered a new name. The heir of Kale, Kate, and the flame-born bride, bringers of light, protectors of peace. Their journey was not over. In fact, it had just begun.